Welcome to this ReadStore tutorial where we will see how we can install and set up a ReadStore Basic server, create the first set of users and upload the first sequencing files. As usual, we will start with a quick tour through the whole process and then the second part take time to discuss a couple of configurations for the ReadStore server. And before we can start with the installation procedure, we will need to get an activation key to unlock the admin account later. And the activation key you can get from the ReadStore website. There is a free 30-day trial demo for you to try out ReadStore. And we're here now on the ReadStore website at evobyte.com/ReadStore. I'm going to link all of this. And we will move to the Get Started section. And here you'll find information on the ReadStore ecosystem, also links to the GitHub repositories of the Python and R clients, some more information, blog posts. And here on the button, Get Your ReadStore Demo, you can click to sign up for the free trial, and then you will receive an activation key and an initial admin account. We've now received our activation key and moved into our Linux server or PC where we want to run the ReadStore server app. In this case, we will use an AWS EC2 instance with Amazon Linux 2023, but the app also runs in any other major distribution. And for running ReadStore, we need to have at least Python version 3.10 installed. So what we're going to do now first is set up a virtual environment to encapsulate our packages. For this, I use venv. I create an environment that is called ReadStore. And then we are ready to install the ReadStore package via Python pip. For this, we just say pip install ReadStore Basic. And we have the package installed now. We can quickly validate the install by saying ReadStore, checking the version, and this shows that our install was successful. Now we want to start the server, but before we can do this, we need to define 3 folders where the major database files are stored. I've prepared them here already. There's a backup folder where the database backup is stored, a DB folder for the database files, and a logs folder where the logs are stored. Ideally, you organize those folders in a way that keeps the backups stored at a secure location along with the log files. And then we're ready to start the ReadStore server. Let's first check the arguments that we need. We can just check the help string here. And we see that we need the database directory, the backup directory, and the log directory as we prepared a couple of more options that we will discuss in the second part. And in order to run the server, I'm just copying in now the command. So we add in the directories that we just created. And then once we confirm this, we will start our ReadStore server. Now that we have our ReadStore server running, we of course want to connect to the web app. And depending how exactly you run your server, this also depends how we can connect to the web app. If you run your server locally, this means on your PC or your laptop, you should be able to reach the web app through the localhost port 8501. In this case, you can just type this address here. I'm going to link this also in your browser, and then you should see the ReadStore login interface coming up. However, in many situations, you will actually run the Linux server on a different machine that you need to connect to somehow. This can be a shared server within your company or a cloud server. Some people might be familiar with this. It's quite similar to how Jupyter notebooks are run oftentimes or RStudio. And there are a couple of options how you can deal with this. You can, for instance, ask your IT admins to open the respective ports or use it in combination with a VPN. In any case, you should see that this is in agreement with your IT policies. And what I will now show is an option to define an SSH tunnel, so an encrypted connection via SSH. For this, your server needs to allow SSH connections, and then you can use a command like this on Linux to perform the port forwarding. So here I add in my SSH key, and then here in this -L option, this is where the port that is to be forwarded from your local machine to the local host of the remote machine. There are also tools for running SSH tunnels on Windows. PuTTY is an example, and I'm going to describe some examples in more detail in the blog post. After we set up our SSH tunnel, we can now connect to our ReadStore web app through the localhost port 8501. And here we can now log in with our admin account and the default password that we received with our activation key. And once we logged in, we should see that a warning that no valid license was found because we haven't entered one. But the first thing we do, and this is really important, is that we reset our password and change it to new password. And then we log out and log in again with our new password. Okay, so next we add our license key. So we click here on license key and we see that there was none found. And we just say enter license key and confirm this, and we see that it's valid. We can also check here, if you open this, we can see when the expiration date is due and how many seats we have, so how many users we can add. For this trial license, it's 5 users. And with this, we see that the admin view has been unlocked here, so we can just click on admin, and this gives us the overview to create new users. For this, we simply click the create button and we make our first user. So that's me. I want to give this user staging permissions. So staging permissions, this is important, are required to upload new FASTQ files into the database. And without staging permissions, users can only view datasets and edit them, but they cannot upload FASTQ files. But we want to do this. And with this, we confirm. And we have our first user created. So let's log out and try to log in with our user account. We can log in now with our user account and the new password. And what we should see is now an overview of the project's datasets, the staging area, and the settings. This is of course all empty since we just initialized the server. But what we need to obtain now in order to upload first set of FASTQ files is our user token. And you can find the token here in the settings section. And by clicking on the token bar here, and then we copy and save this token because we will need the token later to authenticate against the backend when we want to upload FASTQ files from the command line interface. And we're now back in our ReadStore server where we want to upload a set of FASTQ files that I'm listing here. And before we can upload FASTQ files, we need to install the ReadStore command line interface that provides access to the database through the command line and also allows us to upload files. So we install this again with pip and we validate that it's been installed. And it's all fine. In order to upload FASTQ files, we need to first set the credentials for our ReadStore command line interface. And for this, we type ReadStore configure, and the CLI asks us to enter our username and the token that we just obtained. And we can set the output format, so basically how the queries to the database would be formatted. And we just say text here because it's easiest to read. And then a new configuration file is created here that contains our credentials, and you should make sure to keep this secret. This is by default in your home directory. Then we are ready and we can simply run upload command and it will start to upload all the FASTQ files. And if you want to know how to properly stage FASTQ files and group them in datasets, I'm going to link this tutorial as well. And we can now move back to our user interface and see if the files arrived. And here we're now back in our ReadStore web app, and we can see that we have the 12 FASTQ files waiting for check-in. So they're listed here in the staging area, and once we are satisfied with the QC and the naming of the datasets, we can simply check them in, and then those datasets will be registered in our database. And that is the basic process of how ReadStore can be set up for your admin and for your users. And the same way you can generate several user accounts for your whole team and set the right permissions for people to upload FASTQ files and so on. After this tour through the ReadStore setup, I would like to end with a bit more explanation on the server configuration. And we saw that there are a couple of arguments that we need to set when we start a ReadStore server, which is, for instance, the path to the directories for the database, for the backups, and for the logs. And just a few more words on this. Of course, you want to make sure that the logs and your backup is stored at a somewhere secure location, and maybe not in the same folders as the database files themselves. And what we have not talked about is the config directory. This is set by default, and by default the configuration of your server is written to your home directory in this RS server folder that's been created. Now you can also change this folder if you prefer another one. And the content of this folder will be a configuration YAML file and a key that is required for the database. And in all cases, the files that are created by the database are created with user-specific read and write permissions. So no one except the person that is running the ReadStore server can read those files, and you should really make sure to keep the file permissions restrictive, because otherwise people may access those files that are not the actual data owners. So besides those configuration files, there are two options to change the default ports of the database. That is basically the Django port, which is running by default on port 8000, and the Streamlit port, which is hosting the web app front end. And in case you have already a Django server or Streamlit server running on your Linux machine and you need to make use of other ports, you can configure this through those arguments here. So make sure that those ports are free. And if you change any of these ports, you need to make sure that that you also update the endpoints in your ReadStore CLI or in your ReadStore Python or R clients, or that you change your port when you connect through the browser to the web app. This is important, and you can find more information how to change or how to update the configuration of your CLI in the README that comes with a command line interface. I'm also going to link this. And those are the basic options. If you have questions or comments how to set up a ReadStore server or are unsure, please get in touch. And otherwise, I wish you a great day.